You are listening to The Platform. Podcast to learn about our digital world. I am Mike Veldhuis, partner at Nolte.com.
I'm Michael Morton, VP of Dell Technologies Data Management and Intelligence and Dell Technologies Fellow.
Welcome to the second episode of Prepare for the Intelligent Future, part of the Platform podcast series. And today we're going to talk about the essentials of your digital foundation. Together with Michael Morton. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Mike. Great to be back. Session 2. Couldn't wait.
Yeah. 1 week. Last week we talked about really Planet Data, which was kind of exciting. And we had a couple of questions for our audience. Did you answer them yourself?
Of course. Every single day I'm thinking about what do I want to know? I think my life is based on questions.
Yeah. Could you do a recap of last week, please?
Well, I think last week was a great way to set the stage to try to express that everything we do in our personal lives and business is just this constant generation of data. Always, always, always. And the name of the game to be competitive and generate revenue for your business is to make data-driven decisions. Hence, you need to think about what does it mean to transform your business into an intelligent business. So where we left off in sort of talking about hopefully getting people to maybe realize a little bit more about all the data that is being generated is, okay, great. But now how do you capitalize on our planet data? And don't be overwhelmed, but just think about the first few simple questions that you would really like to get answered for your business to be more competitive.
Awesome. And we had quite some discussion about what topics we wanted to address in this podcast series. And basically, episode 2, we had a lot of discussion about it because at first we thought we would just focus on the data foundation. Just talk about what kind of data you have, how you can connect it, and how you can drive value from it. But when we started a little bit deeper into the discussion, we actually found out that's probably not the only thing we should think about when becoming the intelligent business. And that's why we renamed the episode The Essentials of Your Digital Foundation. And today we're going to talk about digital culture, which is extremely important to get a grip on, and discovering new value from data. That's actually the two main topics we're going to address today. Starting with the first one, digital culture. What pops to mind, Michael, when we drop that phrase?
You know, first of all, I'm really glad that this shift happened because I find myself, I'm a deeply technical person. I'm still very much hands-on. I'm always learning new technologies, and that's an aspect of my career that I really enjoy. But it is undoubtedly, you can throw at a problem, technology, data, all you want, but you will not succeed without the right culture and leadership. And this is so important. And I find myself more and more engaging in these discussions about, okay, now how should we execute as a business? I mean, who do we look to? How do we actually accomplish this, from within, an organization, small or large? And we find that a lot of times success is 100% dictated by being able to do that. And culture, mindset, unbelievably important. And so I really enjoy having this discussion to prove of how important it is before you start talking about technology.
Yeah, and I think it's a good decision. And delving into the experience, twofold. On the one hand, it's your job as well, reading a lot of articles. What's being written about these topics on the web, in conferences, whether they're online right now. Gartner is putting an enormous effort in generating content about this topic. So we get a lot of knowledge from that. And on the other hand, it's personal experience, what we are experiencing with our customers, how they are dealing with these topics, what kind of questions they ask us to build. We're really focused on building platforms, digital platforms. But sometimes you get a question and it's really, really hard to answer a question with a quote, with a project or a strategy. It's difficult because there's still a lot to be taught and there is still a lot to be educated on these topics. And that's basically, what can we do to create a digital culture that everybody in your organization understands the value of digitization and driving business value out of it? What would be your starting point for this journey?
For me, it always starts with the question. And by the way, it's probably not going to be the question you end up answering. It's just the way it is. But starting with this question, can you tell me this? Just start with that as the beginning of any of your questions. Can you tell me this? But then you quickly get into, well, okay, let me try to answer that question for you. What's generating the data? Where's it coming from? Who owns it? What tools are we going to use? Do I have the skills? Do I have the right level leadership within my company to invest in this? Do I have the right platform? Can I trust the data? Do I even produce the data to answer the question? And I could go on and on and on and give you all these questions that you suddenly realize that you don't have answers to answer the original question. Mm-hmm. So that really starts demonstrating that long life cycle of saying, oh my gosh, we don't have the right culture in place. We don't have the right processes in place. I mean, we might not have the right leadership in place. We might not have the right skills in place. And so it is amazing how complicated it becomes. And then suddenly you realize that you can't answer that first question because you lack all these elements to run a process to basically become a digitized or a digitally transformed company. It's very difficult.
In preparation to this episode, I explained something I experienced firsthand with a customer of ours that we really want to help develop a digitized strategy. And you asked me, what's the problem? And I would be very happy if I could answer you with a straightforward answer. This is the problem, because then you can work on the solution, right? But most of the time, it's just not one problem. There are several problems we try to address. And to make it a little bit more specific, to not make it sound vague, the example is that a lot of the companies we work with, they want to deliver something to their customers. It's the chain. And they often get questions from their customers. We want this, we want to buy a product, but the product doesn't exist at this stage. Business developers face these issues all the time because they want to innovate, they want to move forward, they want to be smarter than their competitors. And the funny thing is that in this case, this organization really has a digital strategy. They want to be more digitized over time. So the business developers are focusing on this challenge, but their own organization is still hesitant. They're stick to their original job, you know? So this is a challenge.
Yep.
Is this something you experience in the US as well? Is this something you have in your own experience as well? Is this something you have? If this is the problem, this would be my problem definition. Do you have the answer to solve this?
I would be all knowing if I could answer that question. Let's put it that way. And as I'm listening to you talk about this, I'm thinking how I generally think, and that is, it is a problem. So now how do you start overcoming the problem? It doesn't happen overnight. it's not a company-wide announcement that suddenly things change. And I tend to, in my own experience, which is part of my job responsibility. So part of the reason why I'm grateful that you and I are actually doing these is because I can draw from personal experience about what is my responsibilities right now. And that is, start small. You'll always hear me say that. Start with a small group of people to focus on a problem, focus on these small challenges, build momentum, demonstrate the first wave of value. And so to me, it's a start small and then run fast. And this is a perfect example of just find the problem, solve as many of the challenges as you can as fast as possible, technology, skills, find the right people. You might not know who the right people are from the beginning, but find the people that you think you need, build a small team, 3, 6, 8 people, doesn't matter. And then start chipping away at these challenges that we've talked about and try to generate some momentum. And there's also one other thing that you said, which was part of the reason why I said it is likely that you will not produce the answers from your original question that you asked the business. Because this is the greatest thing about being data-driven is you will discover new insights. It's innovation around data and new value that you've discovered from data that you never imagined was possible. And that's the most enjoyable part of this whole journey.
What I would, awesome. And what I would really like to add is that originally we came from infrastructure. So, and the infrastructure business we still have, we talk with IT, with the IT staff, with the IT department. And I sense that IT, like we knew it, is getting more and more isolated because digitization is far more than data center infrastructure. It's talking with the business and making a translation to ones and zeros or hexadecimal like behind us. And if you say start with a small team, I think there is a huge opportunity for those people who are in IT operations, who are, like we used to know, the typical IT department, to educate the rest of the organization, step out of the comfort zone of infrastructure, because those people talk and think digital, maybe for 10 or 20 years. And if they would adopt this change of digitization and share their knowledge, I think that would really help organizations to speed up the process. I really do. And the original role of the IT director could be crucial to this. The CIO has an essential part into driving digitization.
Boy, I'm awful tempted to pull out one of my other phrases. First of all, none of this is possible without infrastructure. You have to have it. You have to make it available in a very accelerated, or frictionless way to those that need it. But also, just like in the first episode when we talked about your mobile phone, there's a phrase that I like to say, and that is, your IT infrastructure reflects your business. What does it say about your business? IT admins need to think about their shifting. It's not just supporting to make sure that everything's powered up and nothing's burning up. And they need to think about, what does it mean to take their role as an IT admin and now use information that is generated in these environments and share it with the business about insights about how is the business operating based on IT infrastructure.
Wow. 50 minutes. Times is already up. And I'm quite excited about our next episode 3. Ready, Set, Go, where we actually going to talk about how you're turning your business intelligence strategy. So we're going to link episode 1 and 2 into actions. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
And see you next week.
See you soon.